but like the power in this room is just moving. So if no one's told you lately or recently, like, I'm proud of you. Give yourselves a round of applause, please. Closer? I've never been told that I'm not loud enough, Amanda. Never. Thank you to the Brockton area prevention folks that host this thing, that get the funding, that do tireless work in year in and year out. Thank you for continuing to invite me here, because the truth is I'm a wild card. You never know what I'm gonna say. Like, I don't come with a script, I don't have a PowerPoint, I don't have any notes. I just show up, pray, and tell the truth, right? And whatever comes out, comes out. And that's risky, so I appreciate you taking the risk on me every year, right? So thank you for the intro. You know, my name is Kevin Rosario. I'm the founder of ACES, which is Addiction Consulting and Education Services. It's a prevention thing. It came from the work you guys are doing. I started just talking here and there in schools and in the community, and I just got so excited about it that I wanted to make it more formal and made it more of like an educational thing, right? I don't know about you guys, but when I was in high school, you couldn't scare me. You couldn't threaten me. You couldn't talk down to me, right? When I go into the high schools, I look at you all as like young adults with developing minds, with power and choice, right? So like threatening and scare tactics and dare and just say no, I feel like it's not super effective. So with clinical people and medical people, I just developed this whole like PowerPoint that makes it more like educational. Like, let's talk about the why. Let's talk about the developing brain and why young people are at a greater risk of becoming addicted if they experiment, because the prefrontal cortex is not fully developed until the mid-20s, right? Let's talk about dopamine. Dopamine is a chemical that the brain releases that makes us feel good, right? Normal, natural things like exercise and laughing and other things like release dopamine and make us feel good. But you know what else releases dopamine? Joy and laughter. And when you guys were bursting and laughing and raising your hands up, and that energy that was in the room, it just went through my whole body and gave me goosebumps. That's dopamine. That's the good dopamine. You know what I'm saying? That's the dopamine we wanna pursue. It's healthy, it's sustainable. See, the trick about drugs is like, for the short run, vaping, alcohol, marijuana, edibles, whatever it is, it releases this big burst of dopamine that makes us feel good in the short run. But then in the long run, you build a tolerance and it doesn't do the same thing. So next thing you know, you find yourself experimenting with different things. So I just recently started with this new company, New England Medical Group, because they have an adolescent program. I've been in the field for like 12 years now. I've been working in addiction. I actually started at High Point in 2012, worked for Gosnells for like 10 years, and now I'm at New England Medical Group because my passion is really like the young people. You know, yeah, I'm a certified interventionist, I'm senior director, blah, 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 but I'm also a dad. I have 2 beautiful daughters. I'm a son, I'm a brother, and you know, I'm also a graduate of this college. I graduated with a bachelor's degree from this college, and I'm grateful to say that like I'm in my last semester of an MBA in healthcare right now. Like, my next class starts May 18th. Scratch that, March 18th, and goes to May 7th, and God willing, at the end of May, I'm going to be walking the stage with a master's degree in business administration. And, you know, those are all cool things, but the most important thing I am is a person in long-term recovery. It's my most valuable asset. It's the thing you can't learn, you can't buy, and you can't take away from me. And what that means for me is I haven't drank a beer or smoked a joint or abused any other substances since July 2nd, 2010. And God willing, I'm coming up on 14 years. Thank you. You know, and I don't take credit for it. I give the credit to God, to my higher power, to the universe, but most importantly to other people. Because like this room, you guys, I'm not blowing smoke. You don't understand the power you have in numbers. Because the strength in recovery is when someone like me comes stumbling in, half dead, right, broken, a group of people say, let me show you the way. Let me pull you out of the darkness. Let me love you up. Let me encourage you. And those people saved my life. I don't take credit for any of my success. But like, what happened? How did that even happen? You know, the truth is, as a young person, I had issues. And people don't want to talk about the issues, but you guys are addressing the issues. You guys are talking about self-esteem and peer pressure and social media and And I didn't like have that education. I'm not saying I'm a victim of it, but like as a kid in 7th grade, I had insecurity. I was a late bloomer. Like I didn't really crack puberty until like after high school. I was under 6 feet all through high school. I didn't really crack 6 feet until after high school. So like in middle school, junior high school, I was an insecure little kid. I had ADHD. I was buzzing around. I couldn't sit still. You know what I'm saying? And then at home, I had 2 parents that didn't really get along. People don't want to talk about that, right? It's like, keep the home problems at home. But my father was a fisherman. He'd go and make a little money, and then he wouldn't have work. And then he stopped fishing, he became a painter. Guess what? Painter only makes money in the summer, then he doesn't make money in the winter. And my mom had like the stable city job. She was like the Leave It to Beaver, like never got a speeding ticket, like, you know, like Lifetime Movie Network mom. That was my mom. And my dad was like the Portuguese immigrant that came here when he was 19, you know, a little wild. And there was this negative energy in my house all the time because the money wasn't right. And my father had his own drinking problems and he wasn't home. So like, I go to school and deal with my insecurity and my ADHD and I'm getting in trouble in class because I keep talking, I'm disruptive. And then I go home and there's like this negative energy in the house, right? And that had a real negative impact on me. You know, eventually in 7th grade, I was hanging around with 8th graders because like I felt safer with the 8th graders. I grew up in New Bedford, and I don't know if that's good or bad, but like it has a city dynamic that there's a lot of elements, you know what I'm saying? And like I was attracted to like the older guys because I didn't respect my father. I wasn't proud of my father. In my eyes, my father was like kind of like a failure as a young man. So I looked to the older guys, the athletes, the people that were making money. And in 7th grade, I smoked my first joint. Right? I was hanging around with 8th grade kids. The 8th grade kids had cousins that went to high school. We walked to high school and they're like, hey, do you want to smoke a joint? And I didn't want to smoke a joint, but I just wanted to be accepted by that group. So I smoked a joint, and I remember I didn't even get high smoking the joint, but I felt like they accepted me. You know, and part of my story is that brought me down a whole life of crime. You know, by the end of 7th grade, I was selling weed, like, because I'm a kid, I don't got no money, so it was like, sell 5 joints, keep 1. So I was just selling weed just to smoke for free. And then in 8th grade, there was this thing called mescaline. It's kind of like the Molly of the day. Next thing you know, my 8th grade friends, they're in high school, and now they got this mescaline. So in 8th grade, I start using mescaline. I'm 13 years old. I'm like 4 foot nothing. I don't have, you know what I'm saying, facial hair. I'm a little baby. And I'm putting these like hallucinogens in my body, and by the end of 8th grade, I was selling mescaline. I can fast forward because no one needs to hear all the drama, but as a result of bad decisions as a young person, insecurity, racing ADD with no treatment, no medication, no coping skills, desperately wanting to fit in with other people, I made some bad decisions at a young age. And I can tell you that if you saw me in 7th grade or 8th grade or even my freshman year, I had a job. I was the first kid to go get my, driver's ed, to get my license. 16 and a half, I had a license. Like, I'm smoking weed, drinking on the weekends, and I'll tell you, it'll never be a problem. I would laugh at you if you tell me it would ever be a problem, because the brain at that age cannot even fathom that it could ever be a problem. I'm the cool kid now. I'm hanging around with the older cats, right? I think I'm cool anyway. And like the idea of it progressing and becoming a bigger problem is not something I can fathom. And I grew up in New Bedford, right? So you see like the people walking the street, you see the homeless people, you see the alcoholics, and like, I just smoke a little weed. I got a job, I got a car. This is not a big deal. It will never be a problem. Like literally I'd pass a lie detector test. But then next thing you know, I tried the next thing, and I tried the next thing, and next thing you know, I tried Percocets, and next thing you know, OxyContin came out. Now I'm addicted to OxyContin, and within a year, I'm full-blown addicted to OxyContin. I can't support my own habit, and I start sniffing heroin. And within a year after that, I start shooting heroin. And for the next 9 years, I'm off and on heroin. 2 years of methadone clinics, 2 years of Suboxone clinics. And as a result of that lifestyle, I've been arrested like 12 times. Think about 12 times, a couple felonies, a couple DUIs. I've been jumped, I've been shot at, been stabbed in the back, literally punctured lung, hospitalized with like a tube to keep my lung open. Been incarcerated, turned 25 in the Dartmouth House of Correction. Stole all my family's jewelry, lost my jobs, gave away my cars, totally crashed and burned and destroyed my life more than once. Because the thing about addiction is when it hijacks your brain, it's kind of really hard to shake it. That's why prevention work is so awesome and so powerful, because we want to curve it now, because it's harder then. Because I'd stop, I got out of jail, I got a job, I wrapped probation, I was doing good, and my brain said, well, maybe you can just drink a few beers on the weekend. Stay away from the pills, stay away from the coke, you should be fine. This is the story that my brain told myself, and next thing you know, I'm just drinking a couple beers on the weekend. And then I'm drinking during the week, and then I'm smoking weed. Now 6 months later, I'm doing a little coke. 1 year later, I'm shooting heroin again. And it's a clearance sale. Everything must go. The caddy's gone, the jewelry's gone, the job's gone, and I'm living at mom's house, collecting unemployment, overdrafting my bank account, shoplifting at Walmart like a bum just to get money to get drugs. And my family is just broken, and they're just looking at me like, how could you do this? Even worse, how could you do it again? And what I learned this time in recovery is that drugs and alcohol are not the problem. Drugs and alcohol create more problems for me, but drugs and alcohol are not the problem. The real problem is, without drugs and alcohol, I have anxiety, depression, fear, trauma, childhood trauma, insecurity. I have a racing brain. I have distorted perception. Like, I was not okay when I took drugs and alcohol away from me. Drugs and alcohol were like my friend. They were the only coping skill that I had. Let's be clear, it's not a healthy coping skill, right? But that's all I had. So if you take it away from someone like me, and I know you know someone that went to treatment, you know someone that went to jail, and they got out and they did good for a little bit and they messed up, and you're like, what an idiot. Why would you do that? You're so stupid. You must not want to live your life. And I'm hoping if I can share a little bit of myself with you that maybe you can understand, not that it's okay, but like someone like me, when you take drugs and alcohol away, if you don't give me something else, if you don't give me some healing, if you don't give me some hope, if you don't fill my heart with love, if I don't work on the broken parts of me, like I'm not going to be okay, and I can only hang on for so long before I need to use something again to get relief. Now, that being said, it's 100% my responsibility to accept help, to take action, to do something about it, right? So if the person just chooses not to do anything, they're on borrowed time, they're just going to use again. And so what I learned about recovery is like, okay, great, you take drugs and alcohol away, but I'm not okay. I'm like an insecure little 13-year-old again. My brain's racing. I'm worried about what everybody thinks about me. I'm like falling victim to peer pressure because I just want to be accepted. I feel like trash because of all the people I harmed. I'm like obsessing about all the opportunities I've ruined. And I'm just like not okay. Left untreated, left unmedicated, I'm not okay. And then the 12-step recovery world taught me to pray and to meditate and to do a personal inventory of your issues and like put them on paper and see the truth about them. And then go out in the world and look people in the eye and stop saying I'm sorry and say I acknowledge I harmed you and I want to know if there's anything I can do to make it right. And more importantly in that amend is to change the behavior. Saying I'm sorry but continuing the behavior is a broken amend. And the biggest part of my recovery that they taught me was like, Kevin, once you get a little sobriety, once you get a little, stability under you, now you got to go help someone else. And you got to go talk in detoxes, and you got to go talk at schools, and you got to go do the thing at the church on Thanksgiving and cut turkey. And you got to do it without putting it on social media. You got to go buy hats and gloves and get some people in recovery and go downtown New Bedford and do little homeless care packages for people that have nothing. And stop looking for attention. And what that did was, it started to give me self-esteem, right? And this is what you guys are doing. This is why it's so powerful, whether you know it or not, right? There's this lady, Patty Machado, she's from Cape Cod, and she does a Barnstable County 7th grade youth summit, and it's all 7th graders all across Cape Cod, and we know, and I know from over 13 years of recovery going to thousands of meetings, right? I swear to God, the most common beginning to a story is like this. Oh, hi, my name's Kevin, I'm an alcoholic, and when I was 13, 14, 15, I started drinking, smoking weed, blah, blah, blah. Hi, my name's Stacy, I'm an addict, and when I was like 12, 13, 14, I started drinking, and I never felt like I fit in my own skin. I had insecurity, I was picked on, I had some childhood trauma, like I wasn't okay and I needed relief. It's the most common story you hear, right? So if insecurity and self-esteem issues and trauma and brokenheartedness is the problem, then how do we pump self-esteem into people? How do we give them an opportunity to feel good about themselves? And Patty said, we have them do esteemable things. And esteemable things are things that you can be proud of. And that's what you guys are doing. You guys are doing esteemable things. You guys are volunteering extra time and coming up with programs and carrying the message and mediating and trying to be a positive influence. These things, I would hope, make you feel good about yourself, because guess what? People that generally feel good about themselves don't use drugs. Because why would you have to? I don't need that. That's lame. I'm not doing that. I'm not letting that take me out. I feel good. I know who I am. I don't need a substance to take away anxiety. I don't need a substance or a drink to feel comfortable in my own skin, because if you do enough of this prevention work and education work and advocacy, your spirit is going to be so full that you're bulletproof. And I know this might sound like a lot, it might seem grandiose, but I'm telling you, my experience in recovery, by getting out of the way and trying to help other people and carrying a message of hope, and instead of being a lying, cheating, manipulating, drug dealing, criminal, angry person, fighting people like I'm a victim, right? I grew up rough in New Bedford and and my uncle and this and that, and I've been stabbed. And, hey, you guys have some sad stories. I know you do. You guys have been through some stuff that no young people should ever be through. That's a fact. Get a therapist, work it out, do whatever you got to do to work on that part of you. But the truth is, what are we going to do about it? Are you going to walk around with a backpack the rest of your life as a victim, like, well, life did me wrong, and punish yourself and have an awful life because someone else hurt you? Or are you going to take action? Are you going to face it? Are you going to look at it? Are you going to do the difficult thing that no one wants to do and be honest about it to someone, get the help, process it, and know it's not your fault, and know it's not you, and know it doesn't mean you're broken. You can still be beautiful and strong and powerful, and then what you do is you go out into the world and you tell other people, me too, right? I've been there. And if you're hurting, I can help you come out. I'm sorry if I get emotional, because that's the power in this thing. That's the power in what you're doing. Not just this one and done, and you're off in, going on to college or whatever. Like, shout out to the people that came back, the alumni that came back. Hopefully they're still carrying this in their life. They're teaching you valuable, powerful lessons to have a rich and wonderful life if you take it seriously, despite your situation, right? Your parents may still be broken. Someone may still have a drug addiction. Your parents may be split up. One may be dead. One may be in jail. Like, the life's not going to change. The city's not going to change. The world's not going to, shoot me rainbows because I'm being a decent person. But if I work on myself and I do spiritual work and altruistic work and I find time to help other people, that regardless of how dark it is and regardless how tough some of the days are, I can still be okay. And I commend you for that. Thank you for letting me share.